that white people are committed to being villains in the aggregate, right?
So Professor Crunk is either so dumb as to qualify as medically brain damaged, or she's a hateful, lying propagandist, or perhaps some combination of both, and that's what I suspect. She continues by offering her...
It's funny how many people would paint you the same way, man. It's really kind of ironic. This whole video has a weird irony to it. Real TV. I came across an interesting video of Matt Walsh. It's talking about anti-white racism, but it really just turned into a white supremacist rant where he becomes very hypocritical, especially with how he just trolled the trans community. So let's get into this.
Today on the Matt Walsh Show, much has been said about the rise of hate and bigotry in America, but most of the people lamenting this alleged phenomenon are themselves huge proponents of bigotry and racism, so long as it's anti-white racism. We have
and when you mean the rise of hate and racism, do you mean over the last 400 years or just like prisoner of the moment talk? Because a lot of people, some of them look a little bit like you, Matt, don't even want the conversation to be had. They call it a theory. Racism has become just a theory to some people. So maybe that's why the conversation is so uncomfortable, because a lot of people don't even want it to be had at all because they don't want to deal with the reality of their role in it. I could be wrong.
Well, during all the recent controversy surrounding Kanye West and his statements, we have heard quite a lot about the dangers of demonizing and scapegoating entire groups of people.
Well, let me tell you about the dangers. What I've learned from this situation with Ye is how many people would blatantly disrespected Muhammad Ali had that same situation happen in this era. You have writers. I wouldn't expect you to respect anybody's pronouns, obviously, but you have writers. Y'all know his name is legally Ye, but yet you still just call him Kanye West. After he's expressed his displeasure with it, people still do it. So therefore, I see and know that nobody gives a damn about what anybody else thinks anyway. So why does his comments matter that much anyway if you don't even give a damn about what he thinks about himself? Why do you care what he thinks about you? If you don't respect him, why do you care that he doesn't respect you? Y'all don't respect each other. Move on from it.
We've heard condemnations of hate and of hateful language. We've heard that there's a rising tide of hate and prejudice and that it's getting worse by the day, especially now that Elon Musk has taken over Twitter. Allegedly, that's made it all worse. And,
allegedly.
And it's true, of course, that...
Huh? Does alleged have a hard ER at the end of it? If it doesn't, then you're using the wrong word. Maybe you should just say niggerly with a hard ER. Alleged? You been on Twitter, Matt? It's nothing alleged about what's going on that app. The hard ER has been rebirthed into white vernacular, sir.
We shouldn't demonize groups. That part is true. I agree with the people who warn against such bigotries.
No, you don't.
The problem is that many of those people do not
agree. Because the LGBTQ plus community are some of the people that warns against such bigotries. You don't agree with them. But it's a weird irony here. Let's continue, Matt.
Agree with themselves. And if they are wondering why their anti-hate sermons, their homilies of love and togetherness, tend to fall on deaf ears as the alleged hate tide continues to rise despite their protests, they may want to...
It's alleged, huh?
...take a long look in the mirror. The fact is that the very system now thrown into hysteria about the dangers of fanatical racism has itself fanatically promoted racism for many years and continues to do so today.
Now, these are lies. It's black people that feel as though black people can't even be racist. I disagree with those people. I kind of think they're stupid, to be honest. But it goes to show the feeling.
Now, you can call this whataboutism. I don't really care. I am unapologetically saying what about. What about is a perfectly valid argument that needs to be brought up very often. So what about the openly genocidal racism that the corporate media, Hollywood, academia, the left generally pushes without apology and without shame every single day? What about it?
What about it? It doesn't help anybody. Not of my culture, it doesn't. It just keeps them stagnant while the people around them are handling real business and making real money. We get caught stuck on stupid shit. Meg the Stallion and all this dumb stuff.
Are we ever going to talk about it?
No.
Are any of the eager denouncers ever going to get around to denouncing that?
No.
Well, I know the answer, but I asked the question anyway, rhetorically.
Nope.
Last night, thanks to a repost from Chris Ruffo, a video went viral of a Rutgers professor named Brittany Cooper speaking at an online conference hosted by a popular website called The Root. Now, this video is actually from a year ago, went viral back then, and I may have even mentioned it on the show back then, but the ensuing outrage, almost entirely coming from conservatives on social media, amounted to absolutely nothing. Cooper was not fired, was not suspended, was not denounced, or even lightly reprimanded.
What is this stuff going to do? Why? This is the culture we live in. Why do people think getting fired is going to stop somebody from feeling the way they feel? If somebody doesn't respect you, doesn't respect your pronouns, doesn't respect who you are, wants to be racist, whatever, you firing them isn't going to help it. It's going to make it worse. If I'm racist and then I get fired from it, I hate you black motherfuckers even more. Nah. You even more of a nigga with a higher ER if I get fired for being racist. Hell yeah, it's worse now. If I was homophobic and then got fired, you are even more of whatever I said. Huh? So what are you talking about? They didn't get fired. I hate this culture of weirdos that think someone losing their job is going to change how they feel about you. It's going to make it worse.
Nothing. She's still teaching college students today.
So?
This in spite of the fact that she was on camera preaching the most virulent form of anti-white racism imaginable.
The most virulent form. Let's hear it. I want to hear it.
Just watch.
Let's go.
I think that white people are committed to being villains in the aggregate, right? The real sort of...
Matt, let me talk to you about you, since this is your show. You committed yourself to being a villain to the LGBTQ plus community. You committed yourself to it. You are known for being a villain. Whether people agree with you, whether straight people agree with you or not, I'm telling you what you are to them. You represent, Matt Walsh, represent what she's saying right now. You do.
The issue here, and I've heard people sort of say it, is one, I think that white people viscerally fear. It's not that white people don't know, right, what they have done. They know. They fear that there is no other way to be human but the way in which they are human, which is to, so, like you talk to white people and whenever.
I'll tell you what she's doing wrong. What she's doing wrong is she's saying white people. It's kind of like we do it as black people when we say white privilege. Please. White people don't all have no damn privilege. And this is why you'll run into a white person and you'll get mad at them for acting as if they don't understand privilege, but that's probably a person that doesn't even have it for real. People will step over you. You understand what I'm saying? People care about themselves. They care about their circle of people. So you'll have privilege if you are within a certain group of people. But if you don't fall in line with that, someone will pee on your grave. Like, people don't care about you. For real, they don't. So she's saying white people, and there's probably some people listening that have no influence, no power, no money, no shit. And she's talking about them just saying white people, and they're feeling offended, but you don't have no reason to feel offended because she's not talking about you. You know what I'm saying? At all.
You really want to have a reckoning about it. They say stuff like...
But she is talking about some people. When this called critical race theory that they want erased, she's talking about them people.
It's just human nature. If y'all had all of this power, you would have done the same thing, right?
Which is weird.
And it's like, no, that's what white humans did. White human beings thought there's a world here and we own it. Prior to them, black and brown...
That happened, though. You know what I'm saying? So this is the most you got to find a lie in there. Like, I separate the truth from get all your opinions. I don't care how you feel. Is it a lie? Then we'll go from there. She's not lying yet.
People have been sailing across oceans, interacting.
Told you what she did wrong. But lying was not what I said she's doing. She's not lying yet. Not yet. When she lies, I'll tell you. That's not a lie, what she's saying yet.
Acting with each other for centuries without total subjugation, domination, and colonialism. We have seen...
Now that I don't know. I don't know who's interacting with who. I don't think we were interacting with anybody. I think we weren't doing that. So maybe she's lying there then.
What a show this iteration of treatment of other human beings means, and that my hope is that we would do it differently in the moments when we have some power.
White people are committed to being villains, she said.
Matt, don't go there. Don't make me tell you about yourself again. Move on from that one.
Says. Now put any other group in that sentence and she loses her job. Black people are committed to being villains. Asian people are committed to being villains. Gay people are committed to being villains. Jews are committed to being villains.
Stop. First of all, you know what else this Ye situation brung out? How many people are Jewish? There's a lot of people I knew. I just thought they were white. And then now they're saying Jewish. So there's a lot of people who I've known for literally a decade, and I just considered them white. And they stuck up for white issues. And when you said the white guy, they talked about being white. But then when this Ye situation came out, they were Jewish. So I don't know how you're separating her talking about white people and then you saying Jews. I don't know the difference until somebody says that they're not. I don't think there is a difference. Let's just put it like that. There isn't a difference. So why are you separating Jewish people and white people? All of the white people I know that are Jewish are white. They're not anything else. They're not Russian. They don't claim any other nationality. They're white. So why are you separating those two, sir? Maybe just because it just sounds good. It's just something you're just trying to create a shock value. It's not going to work, dude. Stop it.
Literally any other group at all in that sentence.
They're white.
And it becomes the sort of statement that her career cannot survive. And we haven't even heard the worst of it yet. Not even close. Perhaps more troubling, given her profession, is the hallucinatory version of world history that Brittany Cooper, who refers to herself, by the way, as Professor Crunk, offers up. And we haven't heard the worst of that yet either. She says that black and brown people were sailing around the world and interacting with each other without wars of conquest, without subjugation, without colonization. There's nothing to say about that claim except that it is totally, absurdly, ridiculously false. There is not a shred of truth to it. Whichever groups qualify as black or brown, especially those groups that lived in North America or Africa, what we know for certain is that they were slaughtering and enslaving each other without mercy since time immemorial. European empires did not invent the idea of subjugating a foreign land and turning it into a vassal state.
But they used it, right? Is that what you're saying? They didn't invent it, but they used the invention?
And they didn't even practice the most
I didn't invent the car. I have one.
brutal form of the practice. This was utterly commonplace across the entire globe for millennia.
So that means it's normal, right? So our ancestors as slave owners was normal. It's just common practice for millennia. So why don't they want to teach race theory? It's just common practice. So what's the issue here?
So Professor Crunk is either so dumb as to qualify as medically brain damaged, or she's a hateful, lying propagandist, or perhaps some combination of both. And that's what I suspect. She continues by offering her.
It's funny how many people would paint you the same way, man. It's really kind of ironic. This whole video has a weird irony to it.
That's the thing that white people don't trust us to do because they are so corrupt. You know, their thinking is so morally and spiritually bankrupt about power that they can't
Now that should have to hurt to hear. You have to take an L for your ancestors, Matt. One of the way or the other. That should have to hurt. What she just said should have to hurt to hear.
They fear viscerally, existentially letting go of power because they cannot imagine that there's another way to be. It is either that you dominate or you are dominated. And isn't it sad that is spiritually who they are and that they can't imagine a sort of more expansive notion of the world? The thing I want to say to you is
That's to hurt, man.
got to take these motherfuckers out. But we can't say that, right? We can't say.
Oprah said it. She said the old races just need to die. Oprah said it. What she said, Oprah already said.
I don't believe in
At what point are you going to realize how much people hate your ancestors for who they are as people, Matt? This country was built off the backs of slavery. There's a lot of black people that still feel this way about your ancestors, Matt. It's never going to go away till it's dealt with, dude. Seriously. It's people who are going to keep feeling this way because of what your ancestors literally did to theirs. Here in America, not Germany, not anywhere else. It was on this soil. The White House was built by slaves. Stop it, Matt.
Project of violence. I truly don't, because I think in the end that our souls suffer from that. The world didn't start when white people arrived in America and tried to tell all the rest of us how things were going to go. There were people out here making worlds. Africans,
Gotta hurt to hear, Matt.
And indigenous people being brilliant, and libraries and inventions and vibrant notions of humanity and cross-cultural exchange long before white people showed up being raggedy and violent and terrible and trying to take everything from everybody.
So we hear again her Fantasyland alternate retelling of world history.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie, Matt. I don't think I heard a lie on that one, bro. It just hurts for you to hear because you're white. She wasn't really lying to you.
Adding in the detail that Africans somehow made it to North America before Europeans. She then imagines that indigenous...
Somehow, huh? You really think Christopher Columbus discovered this place? Matt. Really, Matt? I thought you was smart, Matt. I really did. I didn't know you was dumb for real. How did you get your job? Trolling trans people?
Indigenous people had libraries, which would be difficult considering that most of the tribes didn't even have a written language.
Wow. So you probably don't even know about the library in Alexandria that they got destroyed. I wouldn't expect you to know anything about our culture. But wow, Matt, really, there was no libraries. Interesting, clown. How did they have all these written things that they put together and call the Bible? When there was no written text, no language, what is Hebrew? Dude,
much less did they have books. And she says that they lived peacefully.
They didn't have books. How did the Bible get created? What? I don't know. I mean, nobody really want to know the answer to that question if you're a Christian. But I'm asking you, Matt, how did the Bible get created?
Until raggedy white people introduced violence to the Western Hemisphere.
It was some raggedy ass white people, dude. It was some. You know them. You don't even want them taught about in history. It's just a theory, though.
And she's right. North America was entirely free of violence before first contact with Europeans. Free of violence if you don't count scalping, cannibalism, human sacrifice, rape, pillage, murder, war, slavery, conquest, etc.
Oh. Are you serious, Matt? So now we're demonizing the Native Americans who you removed. I'm saying you. You're holding the L for white people today, Matt. Who you removed through the Indian Removal Act. Now, is that the reason why your ancestors took them out and now have to pay them reparations for scalping them and murdering them? Is this how that happened, Matt? You were just doing the world a favor. You were doing North America a favor by getting rid of the Indian Removal Act was because they were doing all this stuff, right? Thanks, Matt. On behalf of all Native Americans, thanks. What is your problem? Continue with this foolishness.
Other than all of that, it was quite peaceful, really.
Yeah, because the raggedy people she was talking about wasn't there. Your raggedy ass slave master ancestors to come and act like they discovered some shit. Raggedy as hell. Just straight raggedy. That's the best word she used yet.
Professor Crunk is an advocate of peace. She says herself that she really wants to take these mother effers out.
Oprah said the same thing. Maybe you just got to have a couple more $1 billion to get away with saying that, because Oprah said it too. A lot of people feel that way, I think. They just don't say it. She did and Oprah did. People feel that way. They really mean it too. This is how bad your ancestors were, that people still want blood for it. They really do. They're just nice about it. But there's people that want blood, Matt.
They're corrupt, and she wants to take these mother effers out. Again, just imagine, black people are so corrupt. We need to take these mother effers out.
I almost cussed at you, Matt. Y'all been doing that. You been doing that.
Gay people are so corrupt. We need to take these mother effers out.
Bitch. Now I'm cussing at you. On behalf, I'm straight. On behalf of the LGBT, I'm calling you a bitch. Because that's what you saying to them.
Jews are so corrupt. We need to take these mother effers out.
Somebody said that before. He's popular as hell for it. I can't say his name, but someone already felt that way. He was wrong. He was evil. He was corrupt. But this has been said before. So continue, dummy. You're stupid, Matt. And you're digging yourself a very shallow grave, sir. It's not even going to be enough dirt to cover you up. You're just going to be laying there, and we can still see you rotting. This is not going to go well for you, sir.
Any of those statements, and you are done forever.
No, you're not.
You're never getting another job. You're getting deplatformed from everything.
Deplatforming is the weakest shit in the world, and y'all let it happen through the hatred of Donald Trump. And I think it's the weakest thing that's ever been created, and everybody should band together and get their nuts and their First Amendment back.
You're losing your bank accounts. You are losing everything.
I could never be a billionaire and lose my bank account. I promise I'm going to do something to somebody. If I was Ye and you cost me $11 million, Ari Emanuel would have, and you could put that on your, save it, do whatever you got to do. There would have been no more of these, a couple of these people. Cost me $6-7 billion you want to. Hitmen don't operate for that much money. You cost me something you want to. There won't be another Ben Shapiro show. If I was Ye, that would have been your last episode. The last one you spoke on me.
Unless you put white people in there.
So?
The only reason she stopped short of fully promoting such a strategy is that she can't.
She's not a billionaire because Oprah said it. So the only reason she stopped short is because she ain't got the money to back it up. Because like you just said, you're going to lose your bank, you're going to lose your this, you're going to lose your that. People don't even know how to defend themselves. They just go behind your back and try to blackball you or extort you, which will make you want to bust somebody's head even more. Continue, Matt, you lame.
Can't say that, she says. And besides, she's worried that exterminating white people might be injurious to the souls of their exterminators.
I like white people. White people's cool, but you're not, Matt.
And she's right about that second part, but not the first. In fact, she can say that she wants to murder all white people. She did say it. She suffered no consequence whatever for doing so.
Good job. Black girl magic. She wasn't supposed to get none because this is just her saying what she wants to say. We're supposed to have an amendment to be able to do that, but it's punk motherfuckers who look similar to you that created the cancel culture. So now people can't even, I don't care. Yo, there's a difference between hate speech and free speech. It ain't no difference. No, it's not a difference. It's people saying what the hell they want to say. It's not a difference between free speech and hate speech. It's still free speech to hate if you want to. The only difference between free speech and hate speech is I know how you feel. I want to hear people talking like her. I want to hear people saying the shit you say, man, Walsh, so I can know how to deal with people. I don't want the fake racists like biting in my face, acting like they're cool when they're really racist pieces of shit. I don't like that type of racism. I'd rather have the racist people that I know. You think Trump racist? I'd rather have that type of racist than a Biden type of racist. I want to know where you stand with me so I can know how to deal with you. I don't want you shaking my hand then behind my back, this nigger with a hard ER. Like you keep calling the racism online alleged, you punk motherfucker.
Later in the video, she speaks wistfully and hopefully about the coming end of whiteness and assures herself and the audience that, eventually white people will be extinct and
No, they won't. And that's silly talk if she said it.
White people can get back to living in peace without the, quote, inconvenience of their presence. It is, again, in summary, a genocidally hateful and racist diatribe.
Shut up. This is how people felt about you, Matt. You did a whole series about it, trying to eliminate a whole group of people, dude. Like literally. No exaggeration. You did a whole series with the hopes of eliminating a group of people. This is what you want done to an entire group of people, sir. So, you sound like a hypocrite.
Is calling for, or at the very least, fantasizing openly about the extermination of an entire race of people. And she presented this to a
that happened to black people before? Never mind.
Media publication on video and suffered no consequence for it. You can, in fact, in this country, openly call for the extermination of white people without the slightest worry that any legal, professional, or reputational damage will result.
You can, in fact, in this country, actually own and slaughter black people and it will lead to the economic rise of your entire culture. And you talking about losing your job in this culture. You personify privilege. You are sitting your stupid white ass in that seat claiming you are a victim of racism. You'll be a victim of racism if somebody smacked them glasses off your face, Matt, for saying this shit. Then you'll be a victim of racism.
Just ask Nick Cannon. He is currently, as he has been for several years, the host of The Masked Singer on Fox. He's had high-paying, high-profile jobs on national TV for the better part of this century. And yet, infamously, he has openly called white people savages and postulated that their lack of, quote, melanin make...
Y'all do not want to recognize your ancestors, do you? Stop ignoring the history of your savage-ass, slave master-ass ancestors, dude. You want us to think about all the nice people when Nick Cannon says savages? Or do we get to talk about the savages that stole, raped, pillaged, beat, abused a whole culture of people, 2 cultures of people in America? The Removal Act of Indians. That's a removal. The Indian Removal Act. There was no fantasizing about removing them. It was an act. Y'all actually did it. Y'all, your people. Since you want to make general statements about racists, this is what we're doing today.
Makes them subhuman. Let's just take a trip down memory lane and watch this again. It's from a couple of years ago. And here's what Nick Cannon said.
Melanin comes with compassion. Melanin comes with soul that we call it. We call it soul. We soul brothers and sisters. That's the melanin that connects us. Right. So the people that don't have it are a little, and I'm gonna say this carefully, are a little less. And where the term actually comes from, because I'm bringing it all the way back around to Minister Farrakhan, to where they may not have the compassion.
I just seen 3 white guys do a video saying that black women are more supportive than white women. Maybe Nick Cannon is telling you the reason why. Obviously, you don't know shit about culture, Matt Walsh. So maybe you should listen.
Or the when they were sent to the mountains of Caucasus, when they didn't have the power of the sun, that the sun then started to deteriorate them. So then they're acting out of fear. They're acting out of low self-esteem. They're acting out of a deficiency. So therefore, the only way that they can act is evil. The only way they have to rob, steal, rape, kill, and
fight or flight,
in order to survive.
Exactly.
So then these people who didn't have what we had, and when I say we, I speak of the melanated people.
Right.
They had to be savages. They had to be barbaric. Because they're in these Nordic mountains. They're in these rough, torrential environments. So they're acting as animals.
Right. Is he lying, Matt? Did this ever happen? Or is he just making all this up too? Is this all made up, Matt?
So they're the ones that are actually closer to animals. They're the ones that are actually the true savages.
Is that wrong, Matt?
Acting as animals, says the guy that has like 10 kids with 6 different women or something.
Horrible analogy. So now, being a father is acting as an animal. Even being a single father, that's acting as an animal. So, raping, pillaging, beating, selling slaves isn't acting as an animal, but having kids is. Okay, Matt. You got anything else you want to say before we sentence you? Because you've said enough.
After that podcast interview, Nick Cannon did, for a short period, lose his job, which he quickly regained and has gotten back to his TV career without any issue. But the momentary slap on the wrist only came because during the same podcast, he said that black people are, quote, the true Hebrews, which is an incoherent talking point we've also heard from Kanye West. Also, not
Incoherent, huh? I think you're incoherent.
Not nearly as vicious or hateful as what he said about white people generally. So Cannon was chastised for the true Hebrews comment. He even briefly lost his job for it. But there was never any chastisement, never any
So basically, the racist Jewish people chastised him, right? Okay, say that. Say what it is. Call it out for what it is. He was a victim of racism by white people that look like you, but they have a culture to them, right? Just Jewish. That's the only thing that separates you and a Jewish person, is them saying that they're Jewish. Because I think you're Jewish, Matt Walsh. You look like you're Jewish. You look like a guy that was arguing on my page that said he's Jewish. You look like a Jewish dude. What's the difference between you and a Jewish dude, Matt Walsh? I don't know the difference. You're Jewish.
Announcement from any notable person or organization for literally calling all white people subhuman, animalistic savages. Because that's the kind of thing you're allowed to say.
It hurts when he brings science into it, doesn't it? Doesn't it hurt? Like how you try to, never mind.
Not just allowed to say, but rewarded for saying.
Rewarded for saying. Meanwhile, he had to sit with another racist ass white person who just calls himself Jewish, that rabbi guy, just sit there and disrespect Louis Farrakhan. Okay, whatever, Matt.
Anti-white bigotry is not simply tolerated, it is celebrated. Professor Crunk and Nick Cannon aren't living in a vacuum. These viciously anti-white sentiments can be heard from celebrities.
Oh, poor Matt. These vicious anti-white sentiments. Oh, my God.
From college professors, from government officials, and many others. The sentiments are expressed out loud, enacted into law. They are set as policy, embedded into the system. The Biden administration gave out COVID relief according to a racial hierarchy with whites at the bottom, where I suppose these savage, animalistic villains belong.
Where I suppose you've already profited, punk. You don't even understand your privilege, do you? You have privilege. You don't understand yours, do you?
As far as interracial violence go, because we hear that all the hate leading to violence. Well, okay, let's talk about that. Twice as many white people fall victim to interracial homicide as commit it, and that's just homicides. We haven't even, we've seen many videos of.
Are we adding up slave owners to slaves? Are those, you don't got the figures for those, huh? So we're just talking about something recent. What are we talking about? Where are these numbers at? I need to see them. Because I got a few more million people to add under your list.
Groups of people in one race stomping the hell out of an individual of another race, but the victim...
Kind of like Rodney King or Reginald Denny? Or like, what are you talking about?
In those videos is almost always white. We have rarely, if ever, seen it go the other way.
What are you talking about? We've rarely ever seen it go the other way for an unarmed white man with a police officer either, huh, Matt? You have lost your white mind.
Certainly not recently.
Certainly not recently. Oh, you had to bring up Reginald. Yeah. Certainly not recently, huh? Let's ignore the history of your savagery.
This tells us is that anti-white racism is permissible in our culture. It is the only totally permissible bigotry that remains because it is permissible, it is also dangerous. It is the most dangerous.
Matt.
There are other kinds of bigotry that exist. But if society generally condemns a form of bigotry, then the danger that bigotry can pose is very much mitigated because it is condemned by almost everyone and certainly by almost all the most powerful people. It's not how it goes with anti-white racism. And nobody...
Do you feel that way about trans people? Is that what you're saying? Because if that's how you feel, then that means you was picking with them and then you was doing it on purpose and you're saying that it would cause a big problem. But you don't give a shit. But now you care about being white.
who speaks out against racism and bigotry and yet neglects to specifically.
This allows me to believe that being white is above everything else in this world. Matt Walsh is putting being white above everything. He definitely puts it above anything sexual. Now he's putting it above being black. He's definitely put it above being Jewish. White is everything to this man. So this is a white supremacist rant, if I've ever heard one.
Denounce anti-white racism should be taken seriously.
How can we denounce anti-white racism when people don't even want to admit who they are? You calling Jewish people Jewish when they're white?
That's what this comes down to. If you're wondering why nobody can take you seriously, it's because you see what we just played there, and you either don't care or you applaud. And that's why.
And this is his racist ass telling black people the reason why white people don't take you serious is because we're insecure about how y'all talk about us, even though it's all based on our ancestors and we want to be inconsiderate pieces of shit to ignore the history and why y'all hate our fucking guts to talk about us being offended about it.
Now let's get to our 5 headlines.
This guy is a piece of shit. And it's very ironic. Very, very ironic, Matt. Extremely ironic, Matt. Like and subscribe, man. This guy is ridiculous.